Six.
No.
We're waiting for the bigger one.
Okay.
Of 9.
Yes. So I wanted to explain that that one is a short version of the report. So they will that's what I will read so that it's not too long. But then they will give you the bigger statement so that the other information that's not on the short statement, you will be able to get it. We didn't want to read a long statement, but we thought we must give you what I'll call a source document, so you'll be able to see the information. Because this one is short, some of the things might not make sense and all that. So I hope you understand that. So we, for instance, in this one, we don't indicate that we had about 41 community meetings of our program, which was titled, or which was conducted under the theme, "It Takes a Village to Raise a Child." Outreach program was never designed as a listening exercise alone or merely a talk show. We deliberately took government's decision makers, senior managers, executive managers, and officials responsible for the relevant line functions into communities so that the residents could engage directly with those who have the responsibility in line with their respective key performance indicators, technical knowledge, and administrative responsibility to resolve the matters being raised. This changed the character of the engagements. In many instances, matters did not have to wait for a report to travel through several layers of administration before receiving attention. Issues were clarified, referred to the responsible line function assigned for action, and where the solution was immediately available, resolved or set in motion during the meetings themselves. Senior and executive managers could hear the problems directly from communities, interrogate the facts, explain what could be done, identify what required further technical work, and take responsibility for the next action. The program covered all 15 education districts. During the reporting period, we conducted 41 community meetings attended by 11,294 people, together with 25 school visits and 24 sports hub visits. The campaign was also amplified digitally, generating approximately 10.65 million views and impressions across departmental platforms. The value of this reach is not the number alone. It is the volume of community concerns that have now been converted into into specific interventions, responsible line functions, and implementation pathways. The program of action arising from the outreach is being driven around practical outputs, fixing safety, critical infrastructure, relieving overcrowding, improving admissions and placement, addressing furniture and learning material shortages, strengthening inclusive education, accelerating support for vulnerable learners, filling critical leadership and specialist vacancies, improving governance and financial controls, strengthening school safety, rehabilitating sport and community facilities, and improving monitoring so that matters raised do not disappear after the meeting. We are applying a simple implementation discipline. Matters that can be resolved immediately must be resolved. Matters requiring technical assessments must be assessed and costed. Matters requiring procurement must enter the process. Matters requiring budget reprioritization must be considered against available resources. Matters requiring another sphere or department of government must be escalated through an integrated government response. Every matter must ultimately have an owner, an action, and route to resolution. Infrastructure concerns were among the most persistent issues raised. The response is already moving beyond diagnosis. Schools identified during unannounced visits with dilapidated or decommissioned infrastructure have been referred to the Department of Infrastructure Development and Head Office Infrastructure structures for assessment and intervention. Safety critical defects, including unsafe structures, damaged ceilings, broken windows, unstable floors, failing ablutions, roof, water systems, and electrical infrastructure are being treated according to risk and urgency. At schools where the problem is not simply a broken component but a broader infrastructure failure, the program of action provided for technical due diligence, clustered recovery plans, emergency containment, and medium-term rehabilitation. This allows government to separate repairs that can be executed quickly from projects requiring design, procurement, and capital funding. At Umtolo Primary School, for example, the action is to conduct an infrastructure and utilities assessment covering plumbing, water, stolen electrical infrastructure, and related failures, with immediate utility restoration and technical assessment prioritized. At the Hills High School, the falling staircase slabs has been classified as a safety critical matter requiring structural controls. This is a type of direct convergence from an issue raised on the ground into a defined technical intervention that the outreach program was intended to achieve. At Muletsani Secondary School, where JoJo tanks existed, but reticulation problems prevented effective use, the matter was elevated as an infrastructure functionality issue rather than treated as if the mere presence of tanks constituted a solution. Across affected schools, the objective is now to restore functionality, not simply to count infrastructure assets. Gauteng has more than 2,000 public ordinary schools, accommodating approximately 2.4 million learners, and 1,021 schools, about 48%, are oversubscribed or overcrowded. Secondary schools accommodates 943,089 learners against infrastructure capacity of 855,081, representing a shortfall of approximately 88,000 learners spaces. The program of action therefore treats overcrowding as a planning and infrastructure problem, not merely an annual admission problem. The immediate output is the verification of overcrowding hotspots using enrollment and classroom utilization data, followed by temporary relief plans where required. The medium-term response is to expand capacity where the evidence supports expansion, accelerates infrastructure projects in high-growth areas, and use existing capacity more intelligently where schools, or rather where nearby schools have available spaces. At schools visited during the program, overcrowding concerns were directly referred to our infrastructure delivery team or the Department of Infrastructure in the province, the relevant implementing agent handling infrastructure and planning functions for that particular project. The outreach has therefore created a clear line between what communities experience in a classroom and the provincial decisions on classrooms, school expansion, admissions, and infrastructure investment. Furniture shortages raised during the outreach have been converted into verified provisioning process. A database of furniture shortages has been consolidated, and procurement and distribution are to be coordinated using verified needs identified through the annual school readiness program and district requests. Because available funding cannot address every request simultaneously, schools will be prioritized according to agency and demonstrated needs. The 2026 school readiness audit identified shortages of 67,855 chairs and 25,990 double desks in primary schools, and 111,333 chairs and 98,115 single desks in secondary schools. The important change is that these shortages are being consolidated and prioritized rather than addressed through fragmented requests. For learning and teaching support materials, the program of action provides for an LTSM blitz verification of textbooks, shortages before procurement, confirmation that verified shortages are included in orders, development of distribution plans for districts, timeous transfer of ring-fenced LTSM funds, and monitoring of how those funds are used. This is intended to reduce the cycle in which shortages are identified only after teaching and learning have already been disrupted. The 2027 online admissions process is already close to 500,000 applications. The program of action reinforces adherence to the admissions management plan, links placement to available spaces per grade and schools, and strengthens tracking of learners who remain unplaced. For learners requiring specialized placements, the intervention is even more specific. SIAS implementation is being tracked bi-weekly. Placement of learners to special schools is being tracked weekly, and district directors and district-based support teams coordinators are to receive monthly updates on learner support and placement. Learners awaiting specialized placements must also receive interim support rather than simply remain on a waiting list. This output-driven approach changes the question from how many applications have been received to how many learners have been successfully placed, how many remain outstanding, why they remain outstanding, and what intervention is being applied to each unresolved category. The outreach repeatedly raised delayed LSEN placement, autism support accessibility, shortages of psychologists and therapists, and difficulties experienced by learners with ADHD, dyslexia, and other barriers to learning. The program of action responds by strengthening implementation of the screening, identification, assessment, support process, and by tracking support to learners throughout the year. The intervention recognizes that not every learner with dyslexia, or ADHD requires placement in a special school. Learners must be assessed according to their support needs, with accommodation and support strategies implemented to maximize curriculum participation. Learners with autism are to receive support aligned with identified curriculum and individual support needs. Where learners cannot immediately be placed, waiting periods are being tracked through learner support tracking grids with monitoring and intervention intended to prevent learners from disappearing into an administrative queue. Infrastructure requirements for specialized placement are being escalated to infrastructure, while new schools are expected to take universal access guidelines into account, and existing facilities requiring retrofitting are to be referred for support. The shortage of educational psychologists has also been escalated to human resources and relevant line managers, while inclusive support services support requirement processes by assisting with appointment criteria and technical expertise. This is the practical meaning of bringing line function managers into the outreach process. A concern raised by parent can be connected directly to the official structure responsible for assessment, placement, infrastructure, or staffing. Communities raised teacher shortages, principal vacancies in certain schools, and leadership instability. At the end of June 2026, the post-level 1 educator vacancy rate was approximately 6%, which means the challenge is not only the total number of teachers, but the location of vacancies, subject specialization, and recruitment turnaround times. The department has published a vacancy circular containing 107 principal posts intended for appointment from 1 January 2027. Vacant educator posts are being filled as they arise, while the broader program of action calls for improved teacher provisioning, accelerated recruitment, succession planning, and strong alignment between staffing and curriculum needs. The department estimates that approximately 1,173 additional posts are required in the short to medium term to respond to growth at an estimated cost of 606 million. There is also an estimated shortage of 370 teachers in critical technology subjects. These pressures are now being incorporated into workforce planning rather than being treated as isolated complaints from individual schools. The outreach raised serious concerns about SGB misconduct, weak financial transparency, school budgets, rental income, procurement, and accountability. The response is both corrective and preventative. District directors are expected to engage SGBs more frequently. Governance training and induction are to be strengthened. Compliance with the South African Schools Act must be monitored, and misconduct must be addressed through fair and lawful processes. On financial management, directives and prescriptions are being strengthened around expenditure reporting, school budgets, and the administration of school funds. Prescriptions on preparation of school budgets are progressing for approval. Rental income is being identified through schools' quarterly expenditure reports so that non-compliance can be detected and corrective measures applied. Schools must also obtain the required approval before entering rental arrangements. The program of action further provides for engagement with municipalities, COGTA and Provincial Treasury on special tariffs, payment arrangements, and measures to minimize service disconnections at public schools. This is important because utility debt and disconnections cannot be solved only at school level, where the solution requires coordinated government intervention. Where corruption, fraud, financial misconduct, or deliberate maladministration is established, consequence management will follow. But the greater output we seek is prevention, stronger controls, better records, clearer responsibilities, improved procurement compliance, and earlier detection of irregularities before public resources are lost. Violence, gangsterism, bullying, substance abuse, gender-based violence, vandalism, and criminal activity around schools were repeatedly raised. The program of action strengthened safe schools intervention and cooperation with SAPS, community policing forums, NGOs, and communities. Work is also being driven on anti-bullying interventions and misconduct measures, education support, and curriculum functions. The purpose is to move from responding only after incidents occur to prevention, early intervention, clear escalation, and coordinated action around high-risk schools. Communities themselves remain essential to the solution and refuse to normalize drug dealing, vandalism, and violence around schools. The outreach also identified inadequate sport facilities, poor maintenance, insufficient equipment, and limited structured participation. The program of action provides for an audit of sports grounds, courts, stadiums, fencing, lighting, and safety conditions, together with quick safety repairs and a directive reinforcing the expectation that schools provide sporting activity. 64 combi courts at non-fee paying schools have been identified for refurbishment. Condition assessment for an initial 13 courts are being pursued, while assessments for the remaining 51 require an estimated additional 4.6 million. This creates a defined pipeline from identification to assessment, to costing, to resource mobilization, and ultimately refurbishment. The same implementation principle applies to libraries, cultural facilities, and distressed projects. The Women's Heritage Living Monument Repair Program in Tshwane had reached approximately 98% physical completion, while Naturena Community Library had reached close-out stage. Procurement processes for emergency and maintenance contractors and professional service providers are intended to improve the speed at which future maintenance requirements can be addressed. The most important impact of the program is the model of government. It is beginning to institutionalize. We did not arrive in communities with only political leadership and then take every question away for an answer at some undefined future date. We brought senior managers, executive managers, and officials directly responsible for the relevant line functions. This allowed technical questions to be answered in the room, incorrect information to be corrected, matters to be allocated immediately, and practical solutions to begin while the meeting was still taking place. Where a matter could be solved at the meeting, we sought to solve it. Where it required a site assessment, the responsible infrastructure function could take ownership. Where it involved placement, the relevant support and admission structures could track it. Where it involved governance or finance, the responsible officials could explain the applicable process and initiate corrective action. Where the solution required another department or municipality, the matter could be escalated with a clear understanding of what interventions was required. This is the culture we want to deepen. Government that listens with the people who are empowered to act sitting at the same table. It shortens the distance between a complaint and a decision, strengthens accountability, and makes it harder for unresolved matters to move endlessly between offices. The next phase of "it takes a village to raise a child" will be judged by outputs. We will track the number of infrastructure risks addressed, classrooms and learner spaces created, furniture and LTSM shortages supplied, learners placed, LSEN cases assessed and supported, vacancies filled, governance interventions completed, financial control improvements implemented, safety interventions activated, and sport and cultural facilities assessed, repaired or returned to use. Unannounced school visits will continue because they allow us to test reported progress against conditions on the ground. Districts must monitor implementation. Head office line functions must account for matters assigned to them, and executive management must be able to identify bottlenecks requiring intervention. Reporting back must therefore become a continuous cycle of listening, assigning, implementing, monitoring, and returning to communities with evidence of what has changed. We recognize that not every matter can be solved immediately. Some require substantial capital investment, procurement, additional personnel, or cooperation across spheres of government. But no legitimate matter should remain without a response. Communities must know whether a matter has been resolved, is under implementation, is awaiting procurement, requires funding, has been escalated, or cannot presently be implemented, and why. The success of this outreach program will not ultimately be measured by the number of halls we filled or meetings we convened. It will be measured by whether a broken school is repaired, an overcrowded classroom is relieved, and unplaced learner enters a school, a learner with a disability receives support, a school receives the furniture and materials it needs, a dangerous environment becomes safer, a vacant leadership position is filled, public money is protected, and a young person gains access to sport, arts, and cultural opportunity. We have listened, but listening is only the first stage. We have already used the engagements to resolve and clarify matters directly, to connect communities with senior and executive managers responsible for delivery, to refer technical matters to the correct line functions, and convert recurring concerns into a structured program of action. The period ahead is about closing the loop. What has been solved must remain solved. What has improved must be sustained. What is underway must be completed. What requires resources must be prioritized transparently. What requires coordination must be escalated, and what has been promised must be tracked until government can return to the community an account. That is how community participation becomes delivery. That is how reporting back becomes accountability. And that is how it takes a village to raise a child becomes not merely an outreach program, but a practical method of governing with communities and solving problems together. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MEC. Colleagues, MEC and TDG Miraz are going to be taking your questions and responding. I will then take your name, the media house you come from. Then, yeah. Let's start. Number 1. Number 2.
They must state their name there.
Yes. Your name in the media house. Number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Let's start. Number 1.
Good morning, MEC. Alpha Ramshwana here from Eyewitness News. I apologize to... Sorry?
You said?
Alpha Ramshwana from Eyewitness
Oh,
News.
I thought your name has changed now. Okay.
I apologize, MEC, for starting with this question, but I just want to get your comments following the passing of Mzi Khumalo, the spokesperson of the ANC, and obviously our condolences, but can we just get your reaction to that as an ANC leader? Thanks.
Number 2.
Thank you so much. My name is Mfanelo Dzanibe. I'm from Tembisa Online News.
Mfanelo.
Yebo, Mfanelo. Thank you. MEC, I just wanted to find out how far, in terms of the intervention with the electricity issues in schools, because I know that some of the primary schools and schools in Tembisa are still without electricity. Just to mention one, just Kulasizwe and others. Thank you so much.
Good morning, MEC. My name is Bafedile Mwerane from ENCA. I think you would have seen that as ENCA, we've been covering the issues of safety in schools here in Gauteng. And I understand that 75 of the schools here are flagged as high risk. I just want to get maybe a full response from you as to what measures are you putting in place, because some of the education stakeholders here that we spoke to are calling for deployment of security officers, to be in the school premises 24 hours. And they are also saying that the South African Police Service should also be roped in. What's your take? What do you think should be a better approach?
Good morning, MEC and other officials. Zola Sholana here from Newsroom Africa. I've got 2 questions. So the first question is, out of the issues that you have identified, MEC, through the program, what are the 3 most urgent challenges that you have identified? And, how many schools were identified as requiring urgent intervention? And is there a specific criteria that was used to determine which schools will get assistance first? Thank you.
5, the corner.
Good morning. My name is Kopano Mnaheng from Ezimtoti News.
It's who?
Kopano Mnaheng from Ezimtoti News. The question is, MEC, you spoke about the sports facilities, and then we just wanted to know who is responsible for maintaining school sports facilities. The other question is, and why are some school sports fields or courts and other facilities being allowed to deteriorate to a point where learners can no longer use them safely?
Thank you.
MEC on the panel. Yeah, no, thanks for the questions. Let me start by I'm not sure if ANC or legislature has already issued a formal statement, so I didn't make, so I wouldn't have wanted to announce a funeral when I'm not authorized to, but now that you have asked the question, I would like to take this opportunity to convey my heartfelt condolences to the family of a dear brother, a friend and a comrade who we have shared a lot of a lot of common interests, including studying law, and we were busy communicating about our articles. Yeah, he had started already, and just yesterday he had sent me a message, very excited that he will be starting to preside his first case on the 28th of August. And I congratulated him and wished him well, and he said to me, "Thank you, my brother. You will be following the same path as soon as well." So we have fought a lot of battles together. We have shared trenches, and we have known each other since our days when I was in COSAS in the ANC Youth League, and we've worked together in different structures, including in government, when he was a mayor and when he was the MEC. So we will miss him because he had a lot to still contribute in building our country and in also helping us to renew the African National Congress. So his wisdom, his commitment, his loyalty will be sorely missed by us, those who knew him and who worked with him for a very long time. So he was a very reliable and dependable cadre of the African National Congress. Finally, the issue of electricity. We did say, firstly, that the department gives schools money to pay for water and electricity. We will also want to refer you to the statement that we issued on water and electricity. If you don't have a copy, I think we'll get you a copy because we dealt comprehensively with that issue. And one of the things we said there was that we would want to look at the process of centralizing and taking back that function from the schools, because we are looking at the possibility of implementing a PPP and making sure that we also work on taking schools off the grid, because it is very irresponsible, reckless, and it shows lack of leadership on the part of municipalities for disconnecting schools. And that's why, in the meantime, and I'm warning the municipalities for the last time today, whatever school that is disconnected must be connected immediately. And if they don't do that, we are going to explore our legal options, because you can't disconnect schools. Whilst at the same time, we want to urge our schools to pay because they've got the money. But municipalities shouldn't be allowed. There's a High Court ruling about Tshwane, one of the schools, to that effect, and we think we will probably use that as an opportunity to ask the judiciary to protect schools from this recklessness, because it's reckless and irresponsible. We can't be switching off schools, because some municipalities have seen schools as an easy target, because they can't collect from households, and they think that the department has got money, and therefore the department will pay. The department doesn't have. The money that is there is with the schools. And even that money with the schools is limited. And many schools have complained to us that sometimes they are overcharged. And some schools have complained that some of the municipalities are refusing to give them meters and all that. So that issue is a concern to us. Bafedile. Oh, the issue of school safety is very important for us. You will remember as well that we issued a statement on violence and crime in schools. We'll also refer you to that statement. But the first thing is that we've got a safety strategy with 7 pillars that we are busy reviewing. That's the first thing. But the second thing, you would have seen that we are starting with raids, with what we call search and seizures in different schools. We started in a school in Carltonville called Badiril. And then we went to other schools in Orange Farm on the same day. Those raids are going to continue, announced and unannounced, meaning the media might be told about others and you may not be told about others. And because we are very concerned about crime and violence in schools, and we are already spending 165 million for the deployment of patrollers in schools. We are already working with the Department of Community Safety for the deployment of traffic wardens to schools. We are working with the South African Police Services because the protection of all citizens is the responsibility of the South African Police Services. The only budget we have is for education purposes, which is what we are using for, and unfortunately, we will not be able to afford deployment of security. We don't have that money. Already, as I've said, we've got schools that are not having desks, that are not having chairs, shortages of LTSM, shortages of educators. Whatever money we have to prioritize those. And that's why we are working with the South African Police Services. We are working, and with the limited resources that we have, we are already spending 165 million. So safety, it is a concern for us, and that's why we are saying it can't be the responsibility of government alone. Communities must work with us to protect the schools and to fight criminality. Zama, why did I write, yeah, Zola, why did I write Zama? Zola, Zola, you know, infrastructure is, I think, one of the biggest problems. And then, because if it's not resolved, we are not able to deal with overcrowding. So that's the first problem. And then, shortage of furniture in schools. It's another problem. There are kids that don't have desks and chairs, and in fact, in certain communities, schools, that becomes a source of fights because kids end up fighting for desks and chairs. So we have to make sure that they have enough furniture. The third issue I can identify as which will soon become a problem. It's not yet a problem, but soon it will be because of the numbers. When you look at the registration online, as I'm speaking to you now, there's about 451,000 applications. As I speak to you now, I've got 105,786 grade 8 learners who have applied. We've got 93,864 grade 1 applications. So I've got a live, I'm able to look at this every minute to monitor it. It basically says that we've got a lot of learners who will be coming into the system, and it means we will need teachers, not just schools. You can have schools, but you can have furniture, but if you don't have teachers, you're going to have a problem. So that is the other issue. But another issue is this crime and violence in our schools. And I can go on and on about the challenges, and all of them are important and they have to be tackled, because if you are not able to resolve these issues, they directly or indirectly impact on education. And then, and the criterion, Zola, it's not going to be easy to say school is more important than educator. So, sorry, I think you were saying which school will be helped first and all that. Unfortunately, all our, or rather most of our schools are facing big problems. For instance, we did a study that tells us to deal with occupational health and safety of all our buildings, our schools, we need to have 27 billion rands. Yes, we need to have 27 billion rands. To build 200 more schools, we need to have 35 billion rands. So that's why we are saying we are dealing with emergencies for now, because there are schools that are not habitable. Those will have to be prioritized, whilst we are also looking at alternative ways of raising money and dealing with these challenges. Kopano, you are saying who's responsible for maintenance of schools? It's schools. They're in schools. We give schools money. About 12% of it, it's infrastructure, maintenance. And then the combi codes that we put now in the schools, they take 10 to 15 years before they could be maintained and all that, because we are taking that into consideration. And then you are saying why school sports facilities are allowed to deteriorate. I don't know.
Not just a number of a number of schools, especially in the community, they are not being fixed. If I could say, they are not being fixed, and then you may find that, especially there's a school in Pimville, Khodi Primary School. There is no sports ground in that school. There's no netball court. It's deteriorated. So I just wanted to know from you, MEC, is there any money maybe that will be allocated for such school, maybe to ensure that learners are able to play sports especially in primary schools?
We need 600 million to ensure that there is sports facility in every school. 600 million. So we don't have it. We need, as I've just said, 27 billion to deal with occupational health and safety. We need 35 billion to build more schools. So we need money, and that's the problem. So our biggest problem is that the resources are limited, and the needs are increasing by the day, because every year you've got 50 million learners coming into the Gauteng education system every year. So the challenges we're facing are huge. So we know that we have to have 600 million to build facilities, not only in that school, in many other schools. And if you check the statement, we are saying we have started, and we are giving you numbers of the schools that we have started with. as to whether that school is part of it or not, I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you, colleagues. Is there a follow-up questions, a round of follow-up questions? Number 1, Baba. Number 2, number 3, number 4, this is Felicia. Number 5, yes, your name, media house you come from.
Right, good morning, everyone. My name is Nikele. I'm from Ekoli Jozi News. MEC, I've got 2 questions and a comment. You just mentioned that online admission is already at 500,000. So I just want to find out, are you able to reveal to us what's government's target or ballpark figure that you are anticipating in terms of this application? That's question 1. Question 2, there's a public outcry in the townships. Some libraries still don't have internet connection. What are you going to do to fix that? And the last one is a comment. I don't know if MEC is aware. There's a company called Rectron. It assists government in refurbishing schools, sports fields, and whatever, toilets, whatever. But it only operates mainly in the peri-urban areas. So I don't know if the MEC is aware of that. And how many more companies does the government needs to assist them? Thank you.
Thank you very much, MEC. It's Offenses Timo from SABC News. There are certain areas within the Gauteng province which are high pressure areas where learners find themselves in the middle of an academic year without a school. Such area is Acacia in Pretoria North, where residences are a lot, but the schools are not as a lot as they should be. What is the plan, as this is a recurring challenge almost every year in such areas? Learners find themselves outside of schools during academic years, in the middle of academic years. Thank you.
Number 3.
Oh, thanks very much. My name is Chichi Silepe from the Bantu World Community newspaper. I've just it's just one question, interrelated. Your problems are infrastructure, crime, violence, and related issues. May I ask, do you sometimes have time to think and ponder about the 4th Industrial Revolution, transformation of the education system to meet the needs of the future jobs? Realistically speaking, the technical and vocational school system, it has somehow collapsed at an early age. For argument's sake, most of those who have went to school in my age, we were taken to technical colleges on Wednesdays or Thursdays. All schools, almost all schools in Soweto. But those technical colleges are almost shut. Jabulani Tech, I'm not so sure what's happening there. And those are the jobs of the future. Is there any agenda around it? STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. How much time do you sometimes allocate to that? We understand you have fundamental challenges on your decks. Thank you very much.
Good day, MEC. My name is Felicia Buthelezi from Lighthouse Podcast. Thank you, MEC, for the detailed presentation. And I would like to commend you for the job that you are doing on the ground. We see you. However, I would like to ask if the MEC is even aware that the special schools, there's ELSA schools, which is special needs schools, require a separate attention from the mainstream schools. Why I'm saying that MEC is because I've attended some of these It Takes a Village to Raise a Child meetings. And I've realized that most cases, the voice of a parent who wants to talk about the matters that are affecting a child or a learner living with disability, they get to disappear because what the department is doing, they try to mix both mainstream and special schools and Elson schools in one room. So I just want to check with the MEC if there is a plan from your office or department to have a special meeting only to address the matters of the Elson school. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm Dana Malinga from Visual Pulse News. Dana Malinga.
Dana.
Yes. MEC, you mentioned various threats of which, if not been looked at, can lead to learners not achieve their goals or their destiny. Can you share with us, of all those various threats, can you share with us two biggest, worst ones? And if so, is there a plan at hand to make sure that they are tackled? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, MEC and TDG.
You want to speak about any of the issues? Okay. Mr. Glenn, I'm told that we are hoping to have over 205, no. We already have over this number, 205. Let me check for you. I've got my dashboard here. Look, it will be difficult to put a target, because if you put a target, you mean that when you reach that target, you can't go over. So unfortunately, this is a moving target. If we say we want 500,000 and 700,000 apply, what do? We can't say we're not going to take the other 200,000. So putting a target, it's not going to help. Doesn't make sense in this instance. And then you are correct. You know, I'll talk about the issue of your connectivity libraries and all that. I'll combine it with that issue of the fourth industrial revolution. I'll come to that. You know, the issue of, you say this company is Ractrom. Yeah, Ractrom, yeah. Which I don't know about them, but there's a lot of people who help in schools. And we are launching a program soon titled Adopt a School. I've already been approached by a few people. For instance, one guy who will be helping us with about 15 schools in Katlehong, infrastructure. And we're going to put them in order of priority. Start with the, for instance, ablution facilities, look at the classes, ceilings, and everything. So we will launch Adopt a School campaign soon. You know, out of these visits to schools and communities, there are a lot of things we do. When we went to Badirile for a raid, it's because there was a complaint raised in one of the meetings. And we went to close it. We will soon call you to talk about independent schools. Independent, because we also have illegal independent schools. But I'll talk to it when I come to that thing. You've got people who have stolen school furniture, and they use it in taverns and some churches. We're going to collect that furniture. Yes, that's what is happening. So I'll invite you soon. I'll be going to collect that furniture. And these are issues that are coming from these community meetings. There's a school in Ivory Park called Umqele. We gave that school furniture in 2024, 600 desks, 600 chairs. 2 months back, when we were in the community meetings, they said not even one chair is there. Okay, we just gave them more now. But guess what? That furniture. So we're saying to communities, if you've got school furniture in your house, in your tavern, in your church, just take it back, because we will come. We will come. The way we did at Badirile, we'll be doing with school furniture, with textbooks, everything, and we'll be calling that Operation Mazbui. But we will launch that campaign properly, including the illegal operations by private schools. Will attend to them. So, Mr. Cele, we will deal with the issue of what I call partnerships. We are talking about these problems and challenges, so that society can be aware, and those who are able to help, they can come to the party and help us. Ufenzi. The issue of learners not, if there's a learner who's not placed in a school, bring them. We want every child in the school. And this is a difficulty because parents want schools of their choice. We want, and we agree with parents, by the way, that parents must put kids where they want. But if a school you want is full, oversubscribed, it doesn't mean the child must stay at home. No child must stay at home. Every child, rather have a child attending a bit far from their place than have a child sitting at home. So no child must be at home. Every child must be in a school. We rather have a problem of shortage of furniture, and we must look for that furniture. That's a good problem to have more kids in schools than have kids not being in school. So if you ask me, what's our plan is that every child must be in class. Every child must be in schools. So if there's anyone don't just report about it because you are looking for content for the news. You can report, I don't have a problem, but bring the child. Don't just report it and leave the child there. As you report and you give content, no problem, bring the child. And then we place the child. You can have your content, but we want our child to be in class. So it must be a win-win. Yeah. That is slap, yeah. Yes, we do think about the fourth industrial revolution. Wasn't that the slap? Yes, we do, and that's why, Mr. Cele, one of the things. By the way, you know that in Gauteng we've got what we call e-learning. What are these? Yes, electronic boards, tablets, and all that. But that's not the point. What is important is that most of our schools and libraries and hospitals are not connected. They don't have access to the internet, to broadband, and that's the first thing we want to solve. So through a PPP, we are already working on a process with the Department of E-Government. We have at least 600 million in the Department of E-Government to ensure that happens. But how we have been rolling it out, you appoint a service provider for 3 years, but now what we want to do, want a service provider that will bring their own money, put and connect all the schools, and then we can pay them over a period of time. We want to do what we did with Gautrain. If you look at Gautrain, when we built the train, at the time it was about 25, 26 billion. We didn't have it. Someone had the 26 billion. They've built Gautrain. We paid it over 15 years. As I speak to you now, we own the asset as Gauteng government. It's in our balance sheet. It's worth 50 billion. So we want to use the same model to ensure that we do that. That's one. But two, that's why we've got Saibono Science Center, because, and we are investing in it. In the statement, I talk about technology educators, because STEM is very important. We are also having partnerships and collaborations to ensure that critical subjects like maths, science, technology, accounting, and all that are prioritized, and learners are encouraged to take those. We are now focusing, in the next coming few weeks, we are tightening our strategies, ECD and foundation phase. Want to get it right there so that these subjects are taught from that early age and all that. So the issue of, we still have TVETs, colleges. Whether they are efficient or not, it's another issue. We've got something called the multi-certification program in education. By the time we want to get to a point where learners are not only looking forward to just getting their matric certificates. Why can't learners get their swimming certificates? Why can't learners get their plumbing certificates? Why can't learners get their electrical certificates as they progress in the system and all that? So that's one of the programs we have. So what we want to do with that program is two things. One is to upscale it so that it can be in many schools as possible. Two is to make sure that we accredit it different, so that when you give a child a plumbing certificate at grade 9 or grade 10, it's not just a certificate, it's proper qualification that if that child was not to finish matric, they could still go get work and all that. But we also want to make sure that we focus learners on arts, culture, on sports, because not all learners are academic. And that's why we've got schools of specialization. We're launching another one this coming Friday. There's 38, there will be 39. We'll be launching about 4 or so this financial year. So we are dealing with that issue comprehensively in this lab. I hope I have answered your question. Mambu Telezi, you are right. I did speak with about, we will have 2 sessions, but how we want to have learners LSEN session, we don't want to have it the way we were having our sessions. We want to have an open day, but also engage with them and then interact with the parents and also give the media information on how many, which different sectors of, different areas that we're looking at and the types of special schools do we have. And then we'll have another one on ECDs and foundation phase. So we will have that. we are working on it. So because we agree that they are definitely they are definitely different, and therefore they must be treated different. There's a school, for instance, somewhere next to Bramfisher. There's learners there who are deaf, and they've asked us, for instance, in a community meeting, the lady called Nontlandla, I think she's a SRC president, LRC president, who spoke to us through sign language, and there was an interpreter, that they want hostels in their school because some of the learners have to use a taxi to go to school because the hostels are not enough. The hostels can't accommodate all of them. So you can imagine a deaf child using a taxi, going to school every day. So we have experienced some of those. And that's why I don't know how far you are. I've asked our infrastructure guys that immediately we must find the money. Is it Zola or who was asking about how do we prioritize? For instance, in a situation like that, where you've got deaf learners, what do you do if you are me? You'll definitely prioritize them. We have to prioritize the most vulnerable and we're not saying the others are not important. But imagine having a deaf learner walking to school or using a taxi, and they can't communicate with anyone. And some people don't even know that that learner is deaf. But they could also be abused and all sorts of things. So it's an urgent thing that we have to do, which we agree with you. Mr. Dana Maling, you know, in education, everything it's a priority. Kids must eat to go when they are in school. They must have a teacher. So you can't say, no, they will rather have a teacher and not eat. That teacher will teach them, they won't hear anything. Those who are staying far from schools must have transport so that they're safe. You can say, no, they'll rather have a teacher, but if they are not able to get to school, who will the teacher teach? So everything is important. That's why one of the things we have done is to identify 6 areas. And this can take a bit of time, but I won't take you through that process. 6 areas where we're going to do what we call triple Ps. And through those areas, we are hoping to save between 3 and 5 billion, which we will use for other things. And this includes infrastructure, the building of schools. We're no longer going to build schools the way we build them, where you issue a tender and somebody does not even finish. We want you to go get your money. You must build the school and give us a finished product. And then we will pay you over a period of time, like we do with the bond. Just giving you, that's one. 2, the school nutrition program, how it's structured. We want to do it differently. And there's 3 or 4 areas there. There's warehousing, where the food must be stored. There's production of the food. There's the reticulation of gas in the schools. There's building of kitchens. We're going to deal with that. And it can take long. So if you are interested, some other time we will give you the details. And then you've got scholar transport. We transport 320,000 learners, if I'm not mistaken, every day to schools. In school nutrition, we feed 1.7 million kids every day in schools. And then there's the issue of water and electricity in the schools that we have identified, which we'll have to deal with. Then there's an issue in the lab of technology in schools. Then there's an issue of safety. One of the things I didn't say when I was answering you is that we've already installed cameras in about 600 schools, but we want to install cameras in all the schools. And we want to deal with access control in the schools. Currently, when you go to a school, you'll find either a patroller there or a guard just opening a gate. And that's what happened in Iputeng, in Alexandra, when criminals came in. There was just a helpless, unarmed guard in the gate, and they went in with the guns and all that. So it shouldn't be easy to gain access into schools. So in the long term, that's what we want to do, and we are going to deal with those things through triple Ps. So when you go into a school, there must be access control. When learners and educators come to the school, they must have access through biometric or facial recognition. It also helps us. We want to put cameras in every classroom. Every classroom must have cameras in school perimeter. So these are big ideas that we are working on. But there's immediate issues that we have to respond to. But these are the issues which will require money. We currently, as I was saying, spend 165 million for patrols. But we want to make sure that every class has got a camera, that every learner, every educator can be recognized either through biometric or their facial. And there's no car or individual who must come in and out of the schools easily. There must be access control. And every school must have an armed response, which is linked to the police station and which is linked to the traffic wardens and all that. So we are working on big plans. The problems are big, and that's why we call you regularly. It's not because we are bored, because there are a lot of problems, and we unpacked these problems for you, bits and pieces. And sometimes some of you think, this guy is bored, or this guy has got a problem at home, he doesn't understand. I don't have a problem. I'm very happy. I don't have a problem. It's just that I've been given a difficult task. And when you are given a difficult task, you must be on your toes. You can't sleep on the job. So that's why we are sharing with you what we are doing, because we are also accountable and transparent, and we want you to hold us accountable. So don't worry, we don't feel irritated when you ask some of these difficult questions. Even the questions we don't like, but we must answer them, because we are not sleeping on the job. And we are confident that we will be able to solve these problems. We will solve them. I was telling somebody that if I thought I will not, I'm not up to the task, I would not have taken this job. I would not have taken it. I would have gone to my legal practice, do my articles, and then join Ngogai Tobi. And then he trains me to be a good lawyer. I wouldn't have problems. At least I have a profession. But I'm confident that this can be done. It just needs us to be focused, to be systematic, and to be decisive. That's what we're going to do. Sure. You want to add? Oh, there's an addition. Did you?
Yes. Greetings, good afternoon. Is it audible?
Yeah, speak.
Thanks.
Speak on this one.
I think maybe just MEC around the issue on partnerships. Just to say that we do get offers. There's many offers of corporate that has an intention of partnering with us. So there'd even be instances where a human settlement complex has come up, and a particular person has access to land and has an opportunity that there be a school built in there. Obviously, the onus is upon us to first ensure that there's actually a need from our end to have a school in that area. But more importantly is to say we are guided by policy, PFMA, ensuring fairness and equity when some of these decisions are being made. And as MEC has been speaking even to the PPP program that the department intends on embarking on, for now, whilst he's speaking to you back at home, there's an emphasis of ensuring that it will be well aligned to policy. So I think that's an important point to say. You might see work happening, but the question is it beneficial to us, our learners? And that's something that we need to take cognizance of. Another point that I wanted to make would be around Fourth Industrial Revolution. Definitely something that's central to the department. As MEC would have mentioned, that we're trying to remove all of these supporting areas of infrastructure and scholar transport and all of these areas that we are putting within PPP so that the department can focus on our main mandate of ensuring a quality education for learners in Gauteng. And the department's plight towards Fourth Industrial Revolution is evident even in our planning processes within the department, even our strategic plan, which would speak to areas of digital transformation, e-learning, and tied to the question on connectivity is to say that there is a drive within the department, not just to connect the school, but through to the level of the classroom. And once connectivity is brought into the level of the classroom, then we'll be able to enjoy all of these opportunities within Fourth Industrial Revolution, whether it's going to our kids having access to gadgets, kids being opened up to being able to deal with kids even in other areas, teachers themselves assisting us even from a point of teacher education. programs, running programs within the department. So we really foresee, and even with infrastructure for that matter, if we are able to get to the core of ICT and automation, it could even assist us with number of learners that we bring in to the class. And maybe even hybrid models. But all of that would be in the near future. But more importantly, just to say that it's something we are aware of. It definitely has to take that into account if we are to see a new education system. And these are, Gauteng, it's important that Gauteng steps up to this as, you know, the trend setters amongst the other provinces. However, the mandate around curriculum resides within the National Department of Education. Thanks, MEC.
Sure. Okay.
On connectivity. So recently, the Deputy President was part of the launch of Turaya 4. Timothy Bernard from Independent. Recently, the Deputy President was part of the launch of Turaya 4 and Satellite 42. You're aware of it? Okay, then my comment was basically going to be, how can we as a province benefit from it? Because I know they're rolling out in the rural area, and it seems to be quite a thing. That's all I wanted to say. You are aware of it. I'm happy. Thank you.
Yeah. No, we just need to make sure that we use our resources properly, because we do have some resources, and we shouldn't compete with the rurals and all that. Yeah.
The satellite, we need to benefit from it.
I agree. So we must look at satellite, look at what is this what is this fiber and all that. So we need to combine and not look at one aspect. But I agree with you. You are correct that we need to look at how we get opportunities. Yeah. Go ahead.
Offenses Timo from SABC News once again. MEC, you mentioned that you've received around over 500,000.
Close, not yet. It's about 400, but it's going to get there. Remember, we only opened last week.
Yes.
I have it here. It's 400 and it was 451 just now. So it's 452,381. You want to see it?
Oh, those are the applications?
Yes.
Yes. I just wanted to find out when will the placements themselves actually begin? Yes,
Yeah.
and is there a time frame as to
Yes.
when that 500,000 will have
Yes.
been placed in schools? And
Yeah.
Sure,
The placement will start immediately on the 4th of September when the system closes, because we want to make sure that by October, November, we already know. And parents who are not happy can also have an opportunity for appeals. But most importantly, that information will help us to plan for next year's financial year. We are already planning. We need schools. I mean, the issue you are raising about Acacia, I've just been given a response now. For instance, that learners from Mabopane, from Shoshanguve, they leave schools in those areas and they go to Acacia. But also, you've got more learners from Northwest, Makapanstad especially, who also want to come there in Acacia. And that's why one of the things we are focusing is building, making sure that all our schools, whether they are in the townships, in the suburbs or one, are able to provide quality education so that people don't have to leave their areas to other areas.
MEC, I have just a question from a colleague, Mandi Samachacha, who's asking, does the department have a budget for grade Rs, and are schools equipped to have them part of the system now?
To do what?
Does the department have budget for grade R learners, and are schools equipped to have them part of the system?
Well, we've got a budget for education, 71 billion, and it must cover grade Rs and up to grade 12 and provide educators for them, provide learner. Whether that budget is enough or not, that's something else, because it will never be enough because of the numbers that we will receive. But in our budget, there is an allocation for grade Rs as well. Yes. Yeah, I got you.
I'm sorry.
But no problem.
Okay.
You miss me, ne?
Not this time.
Today.
Not at all.
Okay.
This is just the final question. In fact, congratulations for being in the education department and in sports as well. I suppose that's what you're doing now. And this is reminding me of when Thulas Nxesi was appointed Minister of Sports. An old man who was the founder principal of UJ Soweto campus, Mr. Kukushe, Dr. Kukushe, was so excited for him that, hey, the man, Thulas was a former teacher, that's why. And now being a former teacher is handling sports. And so he has been dissatisfied with the fact that there's no school sports.
Yeah.
School sports is actually dead. It's virtually dead. And at the time, it used to produce what Dr. Kumalo used to play at high school before they could even, So what's your agenda in terms of school sports? And I suppose that's also one reason that there is violence at schools, because the youth, the young people are actually not active in any sport. They are not competing in any other way than through violence, I think.
School sports will be made compulsory in all the schools in Gauteng. So we will be issuing a circular to that effect, amongst other things. School sports, arts and culture will be made compulsory. So that's the first thing in all our schools. And it's not necessarily true that there's no sports, arts and culture, it's there. But there are challenges like facilities, which I was talking about, that we need 600 million. The Department of Sports in Gauteng, Arts and Culture, their budget has not increased for the last 14 years. I was MEC of Sports, Arts and Culture between 2010 and 2014. By the time I left, their budget was 1 billion. Their budget is still 1 billion today. And the reason why it has not increased is because we've been putting more money in education and health. And for as long as they have 1 billion which must deal with sports, arts, culture, libraries, museums, archives, it's little money. So it's not so much about the will to ensure that sports takes place in our communities and in our schools, but it's also about the resources. And that's why we will need to find resources as well from the private sector, because government, it's constrained. The challenges are big. You've got 230,000 people every year coming to Gauteng, and that puts pressure on health. For instance, in terms of the formula of allocating budgets, we are supposed to give education 48%. Education is getting 46%. We are supposed to give health 27%. They are sitting at about 44% or so because of the pressures, meaning we're giving them more money. That money, it means it should be going to sports, to arts and culture, it should be going to creating jobs and all that. So we can have a conversation about government budget some other day, and I can take you through just to show you that we are constrained. And I know everybody expects miracles, but also refer to, I had a conversation with Coach Pizo Msimane on his podcast. Get that podcast on YouTube. I speak to him for about an hour about sports. Get that podcast, and you'll see there's a lot of things that we're saying there.
Thank you very much, colleagues. I think we have came to the end of our press conference. Thank you again for having shown up. I therefore adjourn. Ngos.